Greetings, and welcome to The World According to Pleiades on KFUG Radio in Crescent City, California, 101.1 FM. The 1-hour weekly radio program that covers everything from alternative medicine, hypnosis, meditation, success, human interaction, alien abduction, and the question of, what is reality anyway, to name but a few. Welcome, Kat Pukas, to The World According to Pleiades, and you're involved in a very interesting activity. I feel like I'm on some kind of old-fashioned game show, like guess my interesting activity or something.
No one can guess the occupation.
I'm thinking that's true. What kind of flowers are those in your hair right now?
Well, they're just the flowers I picked on a dog walk.
Nice. A dog walk, you say?
Yeah, I had to stop and walk 3 dogs around.
Interesting. Is this connected to your interesting activity?
That's right.
Fascinating. And you call it pet transportation?
Yep, I do cross-country pet transports.
You literally go all across the country transporting people's pets, and you don't actually really get paid for it, or you do sometimes, or it's completely volunteer sometimes, or what?
It's a mix. Like, I recently did a transport from a rescue in Oracle, Arizona, Charlotte's Way Rescue, for a dog that had been in foster care for her whole life of 3 years. And her name is Sapphire. And she was actually the sister of a foster dog I had named Blue. So I had this personal connection to this dog. And when I rehomed Blue to a friend of mine, so he was still kind of in the family. I got to see pictures of him on Facebook, etc. Mm-hmm. And then I let Jay know in Tucson, Arizona. She's the one who adopted Blue. I said, I realized, wow, Blue's sister is still in foster care, and she's going on 3 years old. Mm-hmm. And so from there, Jay started networking, and she brought Sapphire and pictures of Sapphire with her beautiful ice blue eyes, but one top half of one eye brown. Oh, wow. Like this sort of starlet-like wink. Yeah. Kind of reminds me of the scene from Metropolis. Nice. With that real slow wink. And this beautiful swirled, sort of brindle, and just beautiful dog. My goodness. Anyway, Jay brought to her niece's attention this dog. And her niece had moved to Syracuse, New York. And it all kind of got worked out on Facebook, like, yeah, we're interested. If only we could get her to us. And so Jay linked to me and said, is this possible? And I said, yep, I will do it. In the dead of winter in February, I will drive from Arizona to Syracuse, New York, and deliver this dog. Whoa. And I said, I'll do it completely free. Because it was just so important to me. It just seemed like this great mission. Like, okay. Yeah. We finally got a family for her. Wow.
That's beautiful. And this isn't just, it happened once and that was it. I mean, you've been doing this for like, how long now?
I guess I started about 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Any idea at all, off the top of your head, maybe how many miles you've traveled?
Oh, dear. I want to say 120,000 miles.
Okay, that's a few.
That's what I want to go with, that number.
Okay, and knowing as little as I do about what you do, but knowing even that much, I believe you.
I believe it would be easy for you to do that. I mean, not easy in doing it, but easily have traveled that amount of distance with all the traveling you do doing it. There, I got that out. What got you into this in the first place? Why? I mean, you love animals, obviously, or you wouldn't be doing it at all, but what led up to you actually...
I would say, what led up to this? I first started doing this through working it out on Craigslist on the rideshare section, and I really felt like the first two transports I did were which one came first? I guess the first one was two men and their 5 chihuahuas and all of their things.
This sounds like a movie.
Including,
oh my God.
Including a original Chagall painting and a bunch of Hudson River Valley art, I'm absolutely sure was all strapped onto the roof of my 1978 Toyota Corolla station wagon.
It is a movie. That is cool.
Yeah, this... I have a fine arts degree, and I had a lot of psychic anguish about the fact that there were these paintings on the roof of my car that were put into a bag that I had provided for them, the cargo thing, and they packed it so badly that it tore before we even left. We left, I don't know, I want to say 10 hours past when we were supposed to, and then they just duct taped it down, and we're just picking up bungees wherever, and it was crushing the roof of my car all the way to Indiana.
Wow.
That's when the structural integrity of my car finally maxed out. I didn't have to wince at the horrible sound when we went over bridges. Then it was quiet. So there were the 5 chihuahuas that it was Milton, he was a retired psychiatrist, and he also was a multimillionaire twice in his life because the reason he didn't have a driver's license to do this was he lived in New York City, and he owned a bunch of apartment buildings, and he'd fix them up and do whatever. And then along with him was Jason, who was a recovered meth addict who he actually had he wrote raps. He wrote rap songs about meth, and one of the really surreal moments in that trip was we had the 5 chihuahuas that Milton loved so much. I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah, I see that. Why?
For those of you listening at home, he just had Jason kind of wrangle the pups. Milton didn't even know how to put the harnesses on his own dogs. That from the beginning of the trip, I believed that he really cared about these dogs, but the situation evolved where I realized that Milton was kind of arrogant and hypocritical, and I was kind of their only hope of getting from Tucson, Arizona to Columbus, Ohio. And there was this surreal moment where we were it must have been right around midnight, driving through Missouri, and Jason was sharing a rap that he had written about meth use. And I was at one point married to a secret meth addict named Jason.
Oh, wow.
And at the moment that he was doing the rap, we go by the exit for where Jason was, my ex-husband, was living when I met him on the internet, Herman, Missouri. And it was just like, all these things coming together. So there were the 5 chihuahuas, and I was their only hope. Yeah. And I always and the reason I got into this, where this is all leading, is I felt like, well, I have 4 dogs of my own, and at times I build up to 7 with having foster dogs added onto that. And I thought, at some point in my life, I might be in a situation where I need to get across the country with my between 4 and 7 dogs, sometimes cats, sometimes turtles, and who's gonna step up and help me? You know, because you're in a state of it's a tall order. So the next trip was for Derek. Also worked out on Craigslist. I was in the process of moving to Eureka, California, and then I was just cruising on rideshare on Craigslist, and I saw that there was this fellow, Derek, and he needed to get from Tucson, Arizona to Philadelphia with his 3 dogs and a cat. And I was like, I just kind of threw my life into the complete opposite direction. I was going to be moving west, and suddenly I'm like, well, I'm going to put that on hold, and I'm going to help this fellow move with his family to Philadelphia. The complete reversal of plans.
Yeah.
And again, it was like, how's this going to happen? This needs to happen. I can make it happen. You know, and in that case, it was the complete opposite of the experience with Milton and Jason. I mean, we were cordial with each other on the route, but most people would have kicked Milton out. You know, and so the opposite was the case with traveling with Derek. We were like fast friends, and we became best friends, and then when I dropped him off, we were almost immediately texting each other like, I miss you, and we should probably do a trip together up to Alaska and back, you know.
So how long did that trip take?
Oh, that was a quickie. We went from Tucson to Philadelphia in probably 3 days.
3 days. Okay, wow, you guys bonded quickly. That's nice. So are you still talking today? Did you already say that? Or?
Absolutely, and every time that I come through the Philadelphia area on other pet transports, Derek's like, you know, my house is your house.
And so is it, when you started this, it's like the world just kind of opened up to you where one after another would keep coming your way and you were already in it, so you went with the flow? Or did you actually ever give any real conscious thought to, I like this, I want to just keep it up, and you went and sought out people that needed you?
I sought out people. I mean, I remember distinctly going to Google and typing in Craigslist dog rideshare and trying to find people through that site, and didn't really succeed. It was like the times that I would always just kind of happen upon them. I never really worked out something where I sought it out on Craigslist by doing a search.
Okay. Now, in the beginning, we spoke about whether or not you get paid for this, and it's like a lot of times you volunteer, and it's kind of like it works both ways. How do you survive? I mean, it sounds like it would be really expensive to actually do this kind of work if not everybody's paying you to do it. Do you have a website or anything like that people can send you donations if they love animals and they want to support the work you do, that kind of thing? Or is that something for the future? Because I see you looking off into space saying, I don't seem to have that.
I have a PayPal address, but I don't have a specific website set up at this time.
Well, I'll just ask you now, and we'll bring it up later in case anyone that's listening would like to support what you're doing by the end of the interview. Would you be comfortable in sharing your PayPal address or not really?
I guess that would be okay. The PayPal address has nothing to do with dogs and everything to do with pie.
Pie? Tell me about pie.
It's a two-prong approach. My business card is about sweet, compassionate care for people and for animals and their people, and about baking pie, gluten-free pie, and non-traditional pie, and traditional pie, but all organic ingredients.
Oh, beautiful.
So my PayPal address is puzzlingcrust@gmail.com.
Puzzling crust. How do you spell that?
PUZZLINGCRUST@gmail.com.
Okay. So do you like just work in your area, or do you mail these pies out?
That's funny you should suggest that I even mail pies, because nobody would think, oh, she mails pies. I do mail pies.
You do mail pies.
I mail pies across the country. Not cream pies, not custard pies like pumpkin pies, but I mean, pecan pies ship really well. And I've had blueberry pies that arrive as a cobbler because they were an extra day in shipment to my friend in Maine.
Okay.
Because I happened to mail it just before Christmas, so there was an extra day worked in there.
Huh. Interesting. Wow. That's like totally cool. Do you have a website where people could go and look at your pies to see what they would like? Or?
I have a Facebook. It's it's the Pie Peddler?
Pie Peddler.
And the thing is, peddler is spelled Pedaleer, because I am known as the Pie Peddler. This is one of my super heroine alter egos, where I go to the farmer's market in the park, and you'll find me there with a tandem bicycle from the 60s with a lithium battery and electric hub motor, selling pie off of my bicycle.
Oh, wow.
So that's why it's the Pie Peddler, spelled Pedaleer.
That's very cool. That's very cool. So if somebody Googled that with your name, they would probably find your page?
I have a Facebook page that's just the Pie Peddler, and you can...
Okay, so that's...
It says I'm open 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have bicycle will travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also the post office is your friend. Okay.
Yes.
Now, I want to jump back into, of course, the pet transport. You know, thinking about it, in a way it sounds, really awesome and romantic what you do, helping people, helping pets and like that. But I'm thinking also there's got to be, it's got to be a huge adventure for one thing, but there's also got to be great moments of happiness, maybe tears of joy. And let's talk about all of that. But let's jump into, if you're ready, into some of the downsides, if there are any.
Oh, there are plenty of downsides. I figured it out that the amount of living that I'm doing in a month is probably 2 years worth of the most people going to their desk job and paying their mortgage and kind of being traditional. I'm being non-traditional, and I feel like I'm living more, in a day than most people are in a week.
That doesn't sound like a downside, though. That sounds like an upside.
I'm saying is I'm doing so much living that I have all of the good and bad that someone would experience.
Okay.
In a shorter time.
I understand now.
So some of the downsides, the wear and tear on the car. On this recent trip, my air conditioning has gone out 3 times.
Ouch.
The first time it went out just inside of Phoenix, Arizona.
Good place for it.
The second time was in Louisiana, where it was humid and awful. Mm-hmm. And then the third time, as I'm making my way back to Arizona, it's gone out again. I've totaled 2 cars in less than 3 months.
Ouch.
My insurance rates haven't jumped yet. I don't know what they're probably just kind of shaking their heads like.
You must sell a lot of pies. or I hope you do.
Oh, I mean, luckily, the first time I totaled the car, it was completely cosmetic. And the car, I took it for 3 more oil changes, a good 9,000 miles before, and I had to. Mm-hmm. I think I guess I must have went 9,000 miles in 5 or 6 weeks, because my insurance company dragged their feet about saying the car's totaled. Here's your payout. So I actually had to drive It happened in northern New Mexico, and I drove up to Seattle, and then down the coast, and then over to San Antonio, and then over to Arizona, and then I started another trip, and I went up to sort of the Reno area, sort of Lake Tahoe area, and then drove it back down to Tucson, and then switched out into another car. It took that whole distance and like 6 weeks before I could get into another car. So that was my Outback. I used to do all this in an Outback, and I had my record with the Outback, 2001 Subaru Outback with 2 sunroofs and leather heated seats. I just had the seats down in the back, but I had at one point I had 2 people in the car and 10 dogs.
Oh, wow.
3 of them were puppies, but that's 10 dogs in an Outback.
Yeah, holy cow.
So then, when it happened, I was very grateful that it was only cosmetically damaged. That it was in fine working order, and I could drive. I was in the middle of a pet route. I still had to deliver a Newfoundland to Seattle. I still had to deliver to Flagstaff, Arizona, a rescue dog. And so I went into my policy and I was like, well, I got to make sure that if this ever happens again, that I'm set up in a rental car, a rental SUV. You have these like 5 levels or something of these, at least through USAA.
Okay.
So I made sure to go into my policy and make sure that I would be set up in a rental car if this should ever happen again. And so actually, like, pretty much, I'm an eternal optimist. And when I bumped the car, that's what I just call it. I bumped it, because people would ask. I'd be like, I bumped a post, and it was $8,505 worth of damage.
Major bump, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bump. So when that happened, I immediately saw the silver lining. I'm like, wow, insurance is gonna do their thing, and eventually I'm gonna get a payout, and I'm gonna pick out a new car. And I'm probably gonna upgrade from an Outback and get into something a little roomier inside. So my next vehicle I picked out was a 2001 Toyota Sienna minivan, and I actually ended up naming the minivan, which was a shade of blue, after Sapphire, the dog that I talked about, who needed the ride to Syracuse, because that was the maiden voyage for that vehicle, and they ended up changing her name to Joanna. So I wanted to keep Sapphire.
Yeah, I like the name Sapphire.
I do too.
Oh.
So I kept that name alive by naming the car Sapphire. And yeah, I didn't have that car more than a month when I was in the middle of a pet transport, and I was driving through a construction area outside of Phoenix. It was Apache Junction area, and everything was reduced to 1 lane, and it's pitch black, and before I knew it, there in the dead center of my lane was what I believe was a huge alternator and mounting bracket. It was like the size of a watermelon, and all I could do was straddle it, and there's no clearance on that vehicle compared to an Outback. Whoa. So that I ran that over and didn't realize until a ways down the road that all my coolant had drained out, and the engine was ruined. Whoa. It took a good 4 days for the whole process to go through, where I had to wait for the tow. The tow took all day. They brought it to the mechanic. The mechanics didn't look at it until the day after that. They had to work it out with the appraiser, who looked at it first, because there wasn't a scratch on it. It was the complete opposite of what happened in the Outback.
Yeah.
So I was put into a rental vehicle because I put my life on hold. Shout out to Aaron and Tim in Tempe, who like took me in, and my puppy and the pet transports I had at that time, as we were just in what's the word? Limbo.
Yeah.
I was in limbo because I had to get to the East Coast. I had to go up to Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And here I was in Phoenix just waiting for word on what was going on with my car, whether, because I didn't know for a good 4, 5, 6 days, whether it was going to get fixed and I was going to drive it out, or if I was going to go with the rental. So they put me in this tiny little, I don't know, Chevy Volt or something. I don't even, not really up on car models, especially modern cars. Put me in this tiny car, and then I had to insist on an upgrade, because my insurance, I pay into having an SUV-sized vehicle so that I can continue my pet transports.
Right.
So that was harrowing. There was no other word for it. Just trying to get an SUV, and it was like this miracle and stroke of luck that I just happened to be at the Enterprise office, and this woman walked in, and she was going to be renting an SUV apparently to help her friends move, and then I didn't even really notice her, but after she left, the clerk was like, "Well, do you want an SUV?" Because she didn't have a major credit card, so she couldn't actually use her reservation.
Awesome.
And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna Yelp you."
Nice. Yeah, and like the universe helping you in your...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I drove, straight to like Mississippi, and then Georgia, and then up to Maine to deliver a Pomeranian, and then actually Pekingese. Let me back up there. It was a Pekingese.
So you literally are all over the United States. I mean, the places you're naming, and right now you're in California. Do you live in your... I mean, is this like year-round? Do you mostly live in your vehicle more than you live at home?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There's no question.
I don't even recall the last time I saw the inside of my house.
Wow. Yeah, that would definitely do it. And that adventure you just described, it sounds like really... stressful, and you mentioned the word harrowing.
Yeah. So yeah, downfalls. Stress. Stress is a huge downfall. Like I really stress out on. I'm trying to help as many people as I can. So I've got all these. I have to mastermind, and no one's going to approach it this way, but I do. Like I have all these overlapping pickups and drop-offs, and I have to work with everyone else's schedule. This is the most stressful part of it for me. Is scheduling the pickups in particular, and working with everyone's schedule, and I have to line them all up.
And the animals' personalities, because
Exactly.
they're going to have their own personalities, and they may not understand what's going on, so then you have to deal with that stress.
Exactly. I picked up, what was that? A Shih Tzu in Miami who needed to get to Kansas City, Missouri. And this dog was so unhappy. And he bit me, just a little nick, but previous to that, I had like an actual laceration from another dog, like from a day or two before.
What happened?
What had happened was this dog named Leche, a female dog, big girl. I had an intuition about this dog, and there was a puppy who was also traveling with us, and they had interacted. They were together once and then twice, and I was watching closely because I had this intuition that I couldn't trust Leche around this little girl puppy. The third time I was in Virginia, and I was visiting a friend, and Leche grabbed the puppy by the back of the neck and started, thrashing.
The death.
And I got this in my head, I'm like, I'm going to the vet. I'm calling the people whose puppy, they're expecting this puppy in Florida, and I have to explain like, your puppy
got eaten by another one of my transports.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly.
Oh man.
And so I had, in breaking up dog fights, you're supposed to use your feet.
Okay.
And you're supposed to use your feet when you're breaking up dog fights. You're not supposed to use your hands because your feet have shoes on them to protect them. So I was kind of using my feet, but at some point I had to reach in there and grab the puppy.
Yeah, because he actually had it by the neck.
Because I can't grab with my shoe the puppy and get the puppy out of harm's way. So I reached in there, and Leche didn't know that she caught her tooth on the bottom of my left middle finger. Okay. And opened up, I don't know, it was about a half inch. It was a deep laceration. Oh. It was like you saw meat.
Oh, that sounds painful.
And I kind of went into shock a little bit. I started shaking. Okay. And I've also got a blood clotting disorder, so that could have been a little iffy. I was okay. I mean, it was.
How did that affect? Did it affect the rest of your trip, or?
Oh, that was a bad trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the worst trip.
The worst trip of your entire animal transport career so far? Or?
Yes, that was the worst trip. I had the laceration from Leche. I had plans to visit a friend in North Carolina on the way down, but when I told him that what had happened, that I had this dog bite, suddenly he was like, "Oh, well, you're welcome here." We had all these plans to go to some hot springs. And he said, "You're welcome here, but the dog isn't. And you should return that dog to Maryland." And I was just, I basically lost a friendship there. Like, there was this untenable situation where, because I had a dog bite, now I couldn't visit my friend and have our plans the way.
Yeah, it's almost like you were being penalized for having a dog bite. I mean, or maybe I'm not.
Well, and it was because I still had the dog who did it with me, and I guess he had this idea that she was going to be like busting through walls and doors and break, and attacking all the tenants in the building where he lived, okay. And so instead, some of the last missives that I sent over there were like, okay, so now I'm sleeping in my car without access to, soap and water to tend this. We ended up just taping it up real well because I figured I couldn't afford a hospital bill. I could afford a scar better than I could afford a hospital bill. And really the second day, the third day, I looked at it and I was getting worried, like, oh, I should have gotten stitches.
Oh, man.
It actually healed okay, but it looked really terrible, and I was like, oh boy, maybe I did the wrong thing. So some of the last missives that I sent my fair weather friend, shall we say, were like, okay, so now I'm sleeping in my car, like basically in your neighborhood, with Leche's teeth like 3 inches away from my head. Isn't that so much better than having me visit?
It's quite a picture.
And, I knew Leche wasn't going to attack me. She didn't mean to catch her tooth on my finger. And she didn't have a history of attacking any other dogs the way that she did. That was the first time that had happened.
Do you feel she ever realized that she had accidentally got you?
No.
She never actually realized
I feel that she was totally oblivious.
Totally oblivious. Even later on, so it's not like she tried to apologize or anything?
No.
Okay.
No. But, there was this funny thing that happened. When I caught, when I got that laceration, I put her in my car, and then I went into the house, and I think I don't know if I got taped up yet. No, it happened within about 5 minutes. Put her in the car, and I was just kind of checking on the puppy, actually. The puppy was okay. Not really anything going on with the puppy.
That was close.
The puppy was fine. Like, nothing on the neck at all. So I was checking out the puppy, and then I heard my car beep. The Outback went beep, and I was like, oh my God. Okay, so I went to my car, and Leche had locked it. She had bumped it. So she went within 5 minutes from attempted murder on a puppy to trying to steal my car. And it was raining. It was very cinematic. It was like drizzling rain, and I just started laughing that she'd locked the car with some other transports in there.
Yeah.
I would have been locked out of my car, but I was just laughing because I just reached into my pocket because I have the spare.
Yay!
Because I make a spare so that I can set the dogs up with air conditioning and then lock the car up totally and then come back to them. Mm-hmm. So to do my thing. So it was just immediately I was like laughing.
Yeah.
And then I was going into shock.
Wow.
So back to the dog in Florida. I was picking up in Miami. It was a Shih Tzu, and his name was Fluffy. And he was just this last-minute dog. Can you da-da-da? I'm like, okay. And they said, he might be depressed. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. Because generally speaking, dogs that are uncomfortable or stressed out, dogs that have been abused can sense about me that I'm actually okay.
You're one of the good guys.
I've walked into houses and people have been like, "Oh my God, my dog just walked right up to you." My dog would be usually hiding in a closet. They can generally sense that about me. So I was like, okay, the dog's gonna be depressed. We'll work it out. I'll make the dog comfortable. So Fluffy, we go to pick up Fluffy, and they hand me his leash, and I'm about to put on his collar and his leash, and he nicks me, and I was like, oh boy, here we go with the dog bites. I've still got the laceration, my fingers all wrapped up, and I have one of they're like, oh, he basically hates everybody. His parents had moved and left him with family. And he didn't really know them either, so he was just kind of upset.
And so were you bringing him back to his parents? Or?
Yeah, his parents had moved from Miami, Florida to Kansas City, Missouri. And so they just already gone. They were already there waiting for him, and they just needed someone to bring their dog.
He wasn't abandoned or anything.
No.
It was all part of the plan that he finally get there.
Yeah.
And were you in the plan right from the beginning?
No, I was. We just kind of put that together on the fly. Like I think I got a call while I was in Maryland or North Carolina or something. Like we just kind of worked it out, and they said he'd be depressed, and it turned out he was kind of more a bit psychotic. So family member put him into a crate for me, and then I drove to the Tampa area from Miami, and that night I picked him up pretty late in the day, and then we were getting set up for sleeping. I went to like the waterfront and found this little spot and could see the water, and I was like, okay, we're gonna bring everybody out and let everybody relieve themselves, and I knew he had to go, so I tried to bring him out. Actually, he kind of like hopped in my lap, and I thought, okay, things are gonna be fine. He seemed pretty chill. And then I had the collar and leash on him, and then I was helping him out of the car, and he kind of slipped out of the leash. And then he got, he started acting a little violent, And I was like, oh, and in my head
What was he doing? I mean, I got a feeling you're understating this a little violent. He had a gun. I don't know.
Well, it was more like, yeah, I'm gonna bite you again, like from before, and so I had this flash in my mind. It kind of like, like I did with the puppy, like, oh, I'm gonna have to be, dealing with the vet and calling up, explaining, and I had this flash in my head of, there's this Shih Tzu named Fluffy, and he slipped out of his collar, and he's running around Florida, and I'm trying to get him, he needs to get to Missouri. I'm trying to get, just get him back in the car. I
he's
go
in
to
a
pick
bad
him up
mood.
and he wants to bite me,
Yeah.
and this is like more dog bites than I was bargaining for. And so I tossed a blanket over him, and I just got him, got his little body and his teeth into the crate.
Yeah.
And
His little
shut
body
the
and
door.
his teeth.
I put in the puppy pads, and I texted his people, and I said, he's not happy. I'm going to expedite this. I'm just going to get him up there as soon as I can, because I figured, okay, the worst thing that could happen is this dog running away and them losing their dog because he slipped out of his collar and he's not comfortable with me. And that was something I had to deal with. Like, oh wow, finally I met a dog that just doesn't like me from the get-go, and didn't really have a chance to finally, get around to liking me. Which I'm sure, if we got to hang out some more, Fluffy and I would be like, yay!
Yeah, I figure it would be inevitable.
But
you did mention the word psychotic earlier.
yeah, he had these I take pictures of all the dogs. And he had these eye boogers in the picture. I wish I could wipe his eye boogers, and I just can't. So, I mean, worst thing that could happen is him running off and not getting to his parents. And then, so I just kept him in the crate and changed out the puppy pads and
good job.
And just expedited it to up to Missouri, and unfortunately, my phone was not charging correctly, and I was having all kinds of trouble with my map app, finding the exact house in the dark. And so I had to deliver him at 1 in the morning, and my goodness, what a transformation in this dog. It was a relief.
Yeah.
This dog They go in, they kind of go in and get him out, and he goes belly up and is wagging his tail, and he's all rolling around in the grass, and he's so happy, and he's his normal self. He's not his stressed out self who's what's going on?
Yeah.
Who is this person? I'm gonna bite them. I'm fearful, fear biting. And
maybe now he knows that you helped him, and he just has happy dreams about you.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so dog bites and wear and tear on the car and totaling the car and stressing out over scheduling. Also stressing out over just the dogs in general. I have been known to wake up screaming about a leash. Screaming and sobbing about
having
a leash.
a nightmare or something? Or?
Yeah. I have these dreams where I'm still responsible for a dog and something has happened to the dog. I believe a dog is still in my care, and something terrible happens, and I just have these night terrors about it.
Wow.
I'm really passionate and intense about stewardship, taking care of.
Obviously, you care.
Yeah.
Immensely about what you do. What you do isn't for everybody. I just it sounds like an adventure, and I love adventure. But it doesn't sound like my kind of adventure. But I believe, because I've known about what you've been doing for a while, and I've wanted to interview you for a while. I believe what you do would make an awesome video documentary. And if I had the video equipment and you were open to it, I would love to, probably follow you around for a year. And just because it would be insane. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, good insane.
Because I know you go through so much.
Yeah.
And as stressful as it is, it's the so much that would make it so interesting to people. But yeah, what you do isn't for everybody.
Yeah, most people, they won't see that many. I'll be like, well, I saw all the bodily fluids today. I've seen, diarrhea, urine, drool, blood. There was possibly aborted puppies on that same route, my worst route. Yeah, it's all there. Bile, Yes, all the bodily fluids, and there was one more downside. What was it? Interesting. Oh, okay.
It's just my phone vibrating. Yeah, I said, what was that too?
I experienced a new downfall on this recent route.
A new downfall,
Yeah.
just for this interview. How
Oh my
exciting.
goodness, we were building up to this over however many routes that I've done over the years. But on this route, 2 times in a row, I was treated like some kind of a pariah at laundromats.
Huh?
That's what happened. Okay, so the first time I was the air conditioning had gone out on the minivan. I'm now in a Toyota Previa from 1994, with 2 sunroofs.
Yeah.
So the air conditioning had gone out for the second time. I'm in Louisiana, and I've got some time in between pickups and drop-offs. I'm like, all right, it's time to do some laundry. I've got layers of sheets, and I've got a tarp, and then layers of sheets, and then a doggy hammock, and blankets, and everything else. I've got whelping pads, and so I'm like, it's time to do some laundry. And I found a laundromat. I just happened upon it, actually, and it was just sort of in a little strip, And so I parked right in front of the laundromat, and the laundromat isn't attended at all. And I just, I pull out dog crates, and I tie... Actually, on this trip, I have my own 4 dogs with me, because I couldn't find a pet sitter. So I've got my own 4 dogs, plus the transports. At one point on this trip, I had 12 dogs in the car.
Oh, whoa.
I thought I was going to have 13. And some of them were going to be Great Danes. So I tie off my dog Tyson to a pole that's there, and I tie, my dog Bo to the door handle so that I can clear out the stuff that's inside the vehicle and make piles, and then, get it into the washers, and then get it into the dryers. Well, there was probably 20 minutes left on drying the whole thing. And there was a nail salon next door. And the woman came out, and I knew exactly where it was going. She says, "Can I talk to you?" There was nothing polite or gracious or anything. There was nothing in what she was saying to me.
That was like the epitome of non-friendly tone.
She said, there's a parking lot in the back. You should move to the parking lot in the back, because I'm trying to run a business here. There's no way to run a business. People are scared of this dog. I've already had people scared of this dog. And so I say, "Oh, I'm not from around here. I didn't know there was a parking lot in the back." She's like, "You should move." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "All right, yeah, I'll move." Even though if she'd wait 15 minutes, I could just pack up and not have to waste the gas. So, okay, I just get everybody into the car and my random things just haphazardly into the car just to move around the corner. I pull around the corner in Slidell, Louisiana, and there's something special about the roads in Louisiana. I don't know. They've been roughed up.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the hurricanes or the something about the bayou or like the way the Cajuns drive or what. But I go around the corner. I had to move the car maybe 50 yards. I go around the corner and I hear the bottom of my car on the passenger side just a long, horrible scraping noise. As I go around the corner. I was on the road.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god. I get to the back parking lot, and I pull under what little shade I can find, because I'm thinking, oh no, I just totaled a third car. This is how it happens, and I got to keep these dogs cool. I don't even have air conditioning.
And how many do you have with you right now? I mean, in that moment?
How many dogs did I have at that time? I had at least 7. Maybe. I'm not real sure.
Okay.
I think I had at least 7 with me. It could have been 9, it could have been 10.
Yeah.
I had at least 7 dogs with me at that point. So I pulled under the tree because I'm like, the car might not go anywhere ever again. I might need a tow truck. You know, I don't know anybody in Louisiana.
You know the nail salon lady.
I know her. You know, I'm thinking, wow, part of me was like, oh, I'm going to have to sue these people for making me move my car, and in the process of me moving my car to the back parking lot, which their nail salon opens to the back parking lot as well as the laundromat.
Yeah.
I start looking under the car, and there's like this beaded moisture on sort of my tie rod, on the back wheel on that side, and my catalytic converter looks kind of crumpled, and then there's this shielding in the front that was torn down. That was the obvious thing. And then I saw this hose just dangling, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, this does not sound good.
I'm like, no. And at the same time, I'm going through a breakup. And I'm like, and I can't even call my boyfriend and be like, this happened. I've got like nobody to vent to.
Wow.
I'm in this strange town. I've got all these dogs dependent on me. And I think I've totaled the car for the 3rd time because I agreed to do what these women wanted me to do.
Yeah.
Out of the goodness of my heart. So I start looking up mechanics. Oh, the nearest mechanics in Amco. Well, I can't go to Amco's anymore because on a previous transport I got ripped off for $920 in Abington.
Abington what?
Abington, Pennsylvania. It's north of Philadelphia. I was supposed to leave on a transport that day. I needed to be gone like yesterday, and then they made up this thing. My check engine light had come on for the 2nd time out of 3 times about a misfiring cylinder, but they said it was a catalytic converter, and they charged me $920, and I was in tears for 5 hours in their waiting room, and they were so pathological about it, they couldn't even stop themselves from making phone calls right in front of me, saying everybody needed a new catalytic converter.
Okay.
An O2 sensor.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't go to Amco's anymore. I will go to the Amco in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Those guys are honest, and I thought because those guys were honest, I thought that the Amco in Abington, Pennsylvania was going to be honest. No. So the nearest mechanic in Slidell was an Amco. I'm like, no Amcos. So I go to the second furthest out, and that's a Pep Boys. And I drive over there pretty slowly, and I'm watching my temperature gauge the whole time, and like everything seems okay. And I get there and I explain, like, I just scraped the bottom of my the undercarriage pretty badly, and there's this hose hanging, and I'm just like, I don't know, could someone look at it and make sure it's okay? And this great guy named Adam, he came out, and he's like, no, everything's fine, and he just like bolted up that shielding piece. And I was like, oh, God, what do I owe you? He's like, well, they didn't write you a ticket, so you don't owe us anything.
Oh, wow,
and I
nice.
was like, no, I gave him a $20 bill. I was like, here, please. And I said, well, what, I was like, is it a slow day here? And he's like, yeah, real slow. And I was like, well, while we're at it, could you look at my AC that went out? And so the belt was loose on it, and he said it was going to be a $300 job. So I kept driving. It ended up actually being a $36 job. Thank God, but it went out a 3rd time. So I don't know where we're at now. I still don't have AC to speak of, or heating.
Are you going back to any place hot soon?
I'm going to Arizona after this.
Ah, okay. And at this time of year, is it pretty warm?
This whole trip I've been like, well, thank God it's April. Now I have to say, thank God it's only May instead of July. July is probably the worst. Everywhere.
Well, we've got about, thinking about 5 more minutes, just to let you know.
Well, I should finish about the laundromat pariah, because it happened twice.
Please.
The next time, part 2 of Laundromat Pariah.
Part 2.
Tune in. I was in Beaumont, Texas, after driving up to Maryland and back down again. And I pulled into a laundromat, same deal. Just start pulling out crates, and actually people, a lot of like African American people are all like, oh, are you selling puppies? And this one's cute and whatever. And I'm just like kind of answering their questions because people have questions for me. It's kind of a conversation piece. It's like the circus, this circus minivan.
The dog circus.
Is pulled up, it's a clown car of dogs. Like, how many dogs are in there? I think I had like 10. So I pull out crates, I start tying dogs to posts, and I start making piles of stuff and whatever. And this man comes out and he's like, you gotta pack up your stuff. And I was like, I just got here. I'm here to do laundry. He's like, no, your stuff's too nasty.
Oh my God.
I didn't even set foot in the laundromat. He didn't even really look at my laundry piles.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you gotta go.
Holy
pack up your stuff and get out of here.
Huh? What the heck?
And I was just like, my eyes just turned to saucers. I'm like, is this happening in 2015?
Yeah. What is this?
I'm like, I explained there was this African American man. He was like, what's going on? And I was like, I've just been told that I can't do my laundry here. And I just thought that this was just this weird thing where I'm being made a second-class citizen over just my situation.
Yeah.
Nope, can't do laundry here.
Wow.
So this man who had asked, he's like, he offered to help put my crates back in, because at this point my legs are all violently bruised up from moving dog crates on my own.
Wow.
With the dogs in them, and my left foot was swollen. My feet swell when I do a lot of driving, but on top of it, my left foot had been within 200 miles at 2 different stops in Texas. I'd been attacked by ants. I was stashing some dog bowls I needed to return to this woman from a previous pet transport. I delivered a dog from San Diego to outside of San Antonio, but I had forgotten to pass along her dog bowls. So we had worked it out where I stashed these dog bowls in a tree, and I took a picture of the tree, and then back, and like it's between the O'Reillys and the strip right here.
That's cool.
And so that she could get her dog bowls back, and so that we didn't actually have to physically meet up, because it would have. I told her it might happen at 2 a.m. that I'm coming through there, because it's really hard to schedule stuff because you don't know how many puppy messes. I thought, I Yelp places about like, okay, I'm gonna have dinner here. I Yelped this place, and I was driving into Louisiana or something, and I'm going to dinner, and then I heard my dog Tyson just empty his bladder. I'm like, oh, I guess we're going to laundromat. We're not having dinner yet. It's very unpredictable.
The adventure continues. Absolutely. Well, we have run out of time, and I can see, because we were just starting to kind of get revved up there, I can see that there's a lot more interview left, but unfortunately at this time I only have an hour show. So I just want to say we've been speaking with Pet Transporter. That's what you consider what you do? Pet transport?
Yeah, it's pet transporting. I consider it a form of dog rescue.
Okay, a form of dog rescue, definitely. And this is Kat Pukas, who has been wonderful and gracious enough to spend some time with me today. I want to say thank you for the work that you do, and for having such a beautiful heart, because you must have a beautiful heart to do this kind of work. You don't just throw animals in a crate and transport them for like $1,000 a shot. You care about the animals that you're transporting, and your goal is to reunite them with their people. And that's huge. That is just so huge. So, Kat Pukas, thank you again, and thank you for being on The World According to Pleiades. Happy trails.
And it controls what we remember. 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 And it controls what we remember.
Thank you for listening to The World According to Pleiades on KFUG Radio in Crescent City, California. If you have any topics you'd like covered, or you feel you have the potential to make a good interviewee, please send your suggestions and or information to KFUG Radio, 270 I Street, Crescent City, California, 95531. Attention, Pleiades. Or email me at radiointerview@moonstar-enterprises.com. That's radiointerview@moonstar-enterprises.com. My name is Pleiades Moonstar, and I love you.